Hi, it's Liz from Lohas Canada. It is June 19th or 20 or something, 2020. We're in 2020. I think it's Wednesday, so that's as far as I know. But this is a podcast about knitting, about sewing, and anything really crafting related, depending on how the week goes, how the month goes, and all that different stuff. So for me right now, we're just getting into canning season, and I just got 30 pounds of strawberries the other day, so they're all in my freezer, which I'm going to be taking out and processing. So that will be what I've been doing for the week, but it is canning season, and also the thrift stores have opened up back where I am. I'm on Parksville, BC, so I'm on the west coast of Canada. And I did go to the thrift store and get some patterns and different things. It was a little bit musty and eerie, I guess, in there. I don't really know how to describe it. When I went in there, they were limiting people, of course, and doing social distancing, but it was also like I should have wore gloves, because like when I was going through the different patterns, especially sewing patterns, I was like, oh man, I'm touching every single pattern and the person before me and stuff like that. So let's get right into some knitting though. So what I am wearing, and I finished, I will show you. Ta-da! And then the back. So I am wearing My Little Secret Crop, I think it's called, by Jessica Maed, M-A-E-D. So I was working on this last time, and it's supposed to be a crop top. I didn't want a crop top, so I just extended it and then cropped it. So it took me a lot longer, obviously, than the crop top version, but I really like it. It fits pretty well. It is made out of cotton. It is by Loops and Thread. I just grabbed it at a Michael's store. 432 yards and 200 grams, and I just weighed how much is left over, and there's 45 grams left over. So I just used one ball. I bought two because I thought I was going to be needing two for the pattern, but I only needed one with 45 grams left over. So my sister saw this and I said, I knitted this, and she's like, oh, I want one. So I'll knit her one of this in this one, and I do have some leftovers, so I think with the two combined I could probably, once I've knitted this up, knit a cropped version for probably one of my other sisters. So this does have cotton and nylon, so it has 87% cotton and 13% nylon. So I was looking for something with nylon because I know cotton does grow, and I just wanted something that had a little bit of balance back into it. But I think I really like this crop top. It is pretty, it's a bit thick though, so if it was super hot out, I think this material would be way too warm, even though it's cotton. I was sitting in the car the other day waiting, and I was just kind of starting to sweat quite a bit. I'm not wearing a bra with it. I'm fine with it. I'm not a huge heavy-chested person, and yeah, I really like the pattern. What I'll be doing is making some more of these, especially in different types of yarn. I would like to find a different, maybe a little bit higher quality of yarn, and maybe a little bit thinner as well, and maybe a different color, because you can only wear this color with so many different things. So that is one of my finished objects. I really do like it, and I was also thinking, because now I understand, this is my first like t-shirt top I've knitted, so now that I understand this, the armholes, I would like to also go into, I have a knitting book that has different types of designs and patterns, and just choose a different pattern to go on the whole motif. So this is just a 3x3 ribbings that's just all the way across, so it was so easy to knit, but it'd be interesting to try it with a different design element and keep it. I think I'm going to have to, if it does get really hot, so I put this on and I went to the thrift store. I had a jacket on and it really started to heat up, so I was waiting in line, and when I got out it was fine, but I did notice the straps were a little bit loose. So I think with the cotton I do need to tighten it a little bit and maybe pick out the stitches, maybe cross them, or just take out probably an inch, because I did find that once it heats up, the straps are quite loose, even though they were quite snug when I measured and put it on myself. So, but now I have, yeah, the whole construction and everything, so I think it's a well versatile adjusted pattern. So my other knitted object I started is, I had this sock done, I think February or March, and it's a wool sock, and I just never got around to the other one, and then I had to drive somebody for an appointment, and so I just took along some knitting and I started the second sock. So it's inside out, and yeah, they're just my go-to socks. Whoops, lost a stitch marker. They're just my go-to socks. So this is, oh, I don't have the tag with me, but I'll post all this stuff in Ravelry, and it's just a store-bought type of yarn. Self-striping, so that's really nice. I do like the stripes. I do like the bright colors, but once I'm done the sock, I do need to switch over and do a bit of research on summer socks and that don't have wool in them, because I am starting to run more. The gyms have opened up here. I feel like I don't want to go to the gym because that's just like a breeding ground for whatever. But they do have in this one co-ed, they have a co-ed gym, and then they have a women's only gym. And in the women's only gym, they have this room, and you can rent out the room, and it has some equipment and it has some instruction. So I was thinking I'm going to rent out that room. It's a part of the membership. And just reserve that room, and I'll just work out in there for, like, you know, however a lot of time they'll give me, and just do a workout in there. So I'll be like self-contained. I can wipe everything down before and everything down after, and so I need some socks to go into my shoes when I'm at the gym. So I'm going to start researching. I would like to find ones that don't have a high percentage of nylon in them, but it might be a possibility that that's just how it goes. So I'll have to keep on looking into those, and once I am done that. So my other knitted object, which you saw last week, it wasn't fully dry and I wasn't sure how it would hang, is this skirt. This is by Skeindeer, and it is my little, no, that was the shirt. My black skirt or something. I'll put it down in the Ravelry, but yeah, so it's nice. It's with the Eco Hemp by Cascade Yarns, and I held it with some sock weight. So I think I need to unpick the bottom because I don't think I did it right. It's cinching it in, so I need to redo that. It did grow a bit, so that was really nice because I was worried about the length for me, just because I ran out of yarn. So I'm not 100% sure still about the fit because of how it folds and drapes in. So I'm guessing what I'll do is probably unpick the bottom and then look at the pattern and actually follow the instructions of how to properly do this, so maybe it doesn't fold in and cinch in like this, because I think this is just my own doing. So I'm going to have a look and get back to that. But yeah, it fits perfectly on the waist. So those are only my knitting items. I did purchase some needles at the thrift store. So I usually don't work with metal needles. I have tried metal needles before and they just seem to really hurt my hand. I usually use bamboo or wood needles, but I did find these circular angled needles, so I'm gonna try them out. They were only 99 cents, so I will give them a go once I have a project. And then I just found these other circular needles. I was looking for something that had a bit more like this is 80 centimeters long, so that would be good for, say, like knitting a sweater and stuff, because a lot of my knitting needles are pretty short. So let's get into some sewing. I have sewn a shirt, so I will change into that. Alright, so this is the neckband and I need to redo it, so this is nothing to do with the pattern. I'm still learning neckbands. It's only my second one. So this is the Ruched top by Ellie and Mac. So Ellie and Mac has different, in the same pattern, they have like a relaxed fit, a regular fit, a slim fit, and then you can decide if you want sleeves and how long the sleeves are. So I decided to do this as the regular fit with long sleeves and also a peekaboo thumb hole. So that is what I have decided to do with this top. I will show you. So all of these little things, like maybe things aren't laying flat, that's all on me because I'm still learning. This material is it is 95% cotton and 5% spandex. I thought it was 97 last week or last time, but it was actually 95 when I went to go look it up. So I am trying to do more eco-friendly products, of course, like eco-friendly fabric and stuff. So I do want to try to always look for something that has more cotton, less nylon or spandex or whatever. But for some things like bathing suits or whatever, it's just too hard. You have to get the spandex in plastic, basically. Unless I go into like some old school swimsuit, which might be fun. So I was looking into that to see the material used, and it's like more like a wool jersey, which would be interesting. Right now we're talking about this Ellie and Mac pattern. So I'll show you why it looks, it's called the Ruched top. It's because of the back. So it goes, it's good length. I didn't add anything in the length at all. It's meant for a person of 5'5" and I'm a 5'6" person. And the back, yeah, you can see. So at the back, you can make this as low or as high as you want. The tails, I did take some of the tail length off just because it was so long and I didn't need that extra huge amount. So I did snip that off and just knotted it. And yeah, it was a really nice, easy pattern to follow. I only followed it on video. They do have the, of course, the written pattern, and then on YouTube they have their own channel. The directions for this one wasn't as complete as the one for the dress. Like the dress, I could just like follow that to a T, but then this one, I was like, oh, what is that? And then I just had to assume a lot of things. So it was still, I still was able to do it. I didn't look at the pattern. I just ended up looking at the video and following it along. So the only modification I made to this pattern is because I don't like wearing a bra, is that what I did is cut out a piece for this part, so just the front, and they actually have on the Ellie and Mac pattern, they had this line, and it was like if you're going to make any height adjustments for your shirt, do it from this line and then go down. So it was actually right underneath my bust area, so the second piece of fabric is just here and then up to the shoulder seam just for the front. So I just basted it and then just kept it all as in one piece, so I didn't have to do any other modifications to that, and it works out really great. I feel comfortable wearing it with no bra on. It does make it a little bit thicker around the armholes, but that's not a big deal. I think though my shoulders are quite wide, I am very straight. So I was going to, if I wanted the back to be higher up on my back, I think right now it's pulling everything toward the back, like toward downwards. So this makes it a lot more smoother, but if it was not so raunched at the back, then I think I would probably go for a slim fit pattern. And if I was doing this without the sleeves, just because this is sort of where my natural shoulder line falls, but I do notice I have worn this out for a day and it did keep on sliding down a little bit. So I don't know if it's just because my shoulders are or wider. I think they made this in a medium, or it might have been a small. I forget, but I would probably go down into the slim fit first, and then before I went down into a pattern size, just because the slim fit is more slim to the body, and this still have quite a bit of ease still, even though it is a stretchy material. So yeah, I haven't had any other snags. The only other thing I think is I would like to learn how to make the thumb holes. They still have the raw edge on them. It was really easy to make the thumb holes, but you're just top stitching it down after, and I would like for the raw edges to be inside. It's totally fine. I just have some other ones that just have a nicer finished edge to them, and maybe I am supposed to top stitch it with it in. Maybe that's my screw up. I probably needed to do that. Just folded it in and then top stitch it. But yeah, it's really hard to get a small rolled hem with this type of material just because it likes to roll in whatever direction it wants. But that might be something just after I do that, just roll it in. I'll try it next time. But so I do want to make another one of these in the slim fit. I want to see what the difference is, and then also without the sleeves, just to give it a different look. But yeah, the sleeves are well. So the other thing I've been making have been period pads. So I've chatted about this before, but my first ones that I made them in a medium size pad, and then I was just trying to figure out how many layers I needed for the inside and what did that equal to in pad sense and holding liquid and stuff. So the first batch that I made was about like 3 pieces of material for the inside and then a top and a bottom layer, so 5 pieces altogether. And I figured out that pretty quickly. I figured out that that was more like a light pad, light to medium. So on the heavier days it did bleed through, so I was just testing out the thickness of that. So then my next batch was more of a thicker pad. I wanted like more of a medium to heavyweight pad, so I put in I think 5 layers and then a top and a bottom, depending on how much I could cram underneath my sewing machine. And so that was probably about the max that I could do. And so that worked out really well, and I'm just testing out the different types of materials that I'm putting in the inside. So for this batch, I was like, well, I want to make some smaller pads, basically with that same first layer thickness as the first ones, because when you have a light flow, it's nice to have smaller pads instead of the medium-sized ones, just to have smaller ones. So I have just sewn the smaller ones together, so they'll be this size. And I'll end up serging them. So what I do is I sew them first and then I serge them. I did try to serge them first, but they just slide around quite a bit, just depending on how many layers you have. So I figured out that it's better. Here's a serged one. I did it in black because that's what's in my serger right now, and you're just going to put material on top of it, so no one's going to see anyhow. So, and I did also... Where are they? I did also some more experimenting because I got this dry wicking material from Amazon, and it's basically like a wick away. So if you've worn any like athletic equipment and stuff, you've kind of had that like sweat releasing stuff, so it's like wicks away from your skin all the sweat. So you can buy that on Amazon, and so I wanted to try to put that on top because sometimes your pads kind of get like moist almost, and it's just like a sweat because there's just something there, right? And especially if it's hot out or whatever. So I was thinking maybe I can do like a wick away material on top. So I made one without the wicking away, and then I put the wicking away material on top of the other one. So on the mannequin, I haven't worked on it or anything. I just needed something up there, so I threw that on. So I'll show you some of the sewing patterns that I picked up this week. I really, again, needed to wear gloves, and I really should have. So next time if I go to the thrift store, it wasn't like an enjoyable process, kind of, I like rummaging through things when I go to the thrift store, but when I was there I was very conscious of what I was touching, what other people have touched. They limited a lot of these selections, so usually when at the thrift store there's just a whole bunch of stuff out and you kind of rummage through like the patterns and you go through different boxes. They didn't have any of that, and I think they were just trying to cut down on the rummaging. They actually had like, this is a box for, you know, kids stuff, this is a box for you know, household things, and then this is the patterns for women's clothes and stuff like that. So where I like to rummage through and then be like, oh my gosh, I got a good find. So it was just a very different experience, but nonetheless, like, really awesome pattern. So let's get into it. So the first one is actually a book, and I picked it up at the thrift store, one of the other thrift stores that opened up early, and this is Mimi's Machine Magic, and I'm always looking for books, sewing books to a specific how they're written and what I would learn. I'm beyond the basic ones. So the reason why I picked up this book is because it does have some basics that I haven't seen in other books. So like the Galaxy of Tucks. So you can buy all the patterns, you know, in the world. And they're going to give you, a lot of the times, they're just going to give you really basic things, unless you go maybe more to historical patterns, and then, you know, there's not a lot of information just like of how to do it. Like, they don't get really specific. So this one actually has like the different types of tucks, and, you know, giving you tips on how to do it. And I think it can be really incorporated into so many different things. And so if I have a basic pattern, then I'll be able to understand it a bit better and add some of my own flair. There's like puffing. So just to get different shapes and trying to see different ways of how people do it. Puffing with shaped lace. So this book is by Mildred Turner. Yeah, I just found it at the thrift store. So I'm gonna start reading it because that seems like right up my alley, and I'm not looking to sew historical garments at all. That is not my thing, but I would like to incorporate the old methods and the good techniques, especially because I am on this eco-friendly journey. So I am trying to find, use more material that has less spandex, less polyester, less all those different things. So I wanted to use more natural material, and with that, some of the patterns don't really work because it has to be spandex or jersey or something like that. So I think with these ones, actually incorporating some of these old techniques into newer modern day clothes, then we can kind of have this like medium type thing. So it's not like a big boxy shirt that, you know, that's all you can wear because, you know, I haven't learned any other techniques. So, all right, I'm going to get into the patterns now. So the way I choose patterns is obviously by the style, but then I also have to think about like how can I incorporate this with, say, linen fabric or cotton fabric, you know, something that doesn't have stretch or something that's very lightweight. So I'm not looking for stretchy patterns at all, but look at this pattern. It's obviously not stretchy, but more of a drapey fabric. So and some of the drapier fabrics as well are polyester. So I mean, I will use polyester if it's in a mix, or if it's I try not to get it, but if it's in a secondhand fabric that I like. So I do like this style. I figure I can use this with a linen, like you don't like a nice breezy linen. They're suggesting like soft fabrics, So even cotton knits, but I think they're saying even gauze. So I think it'll be interesting to see what fabric I have. This is Vogue pattern 7373. So from who knows when. But that's the good thing about thrift stores, right? Like they just have these so many different patterns. This is a Butterick's Classic 6598. And I also try to look for really classic silhouettes, things that I can modify in the future as well. So I don't plan to buy, I don't plan to buy a whole bunch of different patterns. I rather just get some really good basic patterns and then be able to modify them. So I don't have to keep on buying the same patterns with just like a slight difference. Yeah, so really sheer fabrics. I just like them because like this one, just such a classic one. Just such a classic look. And even just like a basic t-shirt, right? Like we all need a basic t-shirt in our lives. So it just had a really nice look to them. Now, this looks really old lady-ish, and I really do like vests, and I think this looks really old lady-ish, but what I'm getting at is the construction. So a lot of the times, you know, even on classic stuff, you just have to look past the construction of or look past the fabric and the style of it and just see how it can be made really cute. So this is a different style, but I would like to learn their construction because sometimes when you get the older patterns, it's an amazing construction and then you can just make it into your own. This one has 9 different vest designs, so just like learning that type of construction. So this one is Simplicity 9772, and yeah, just a really awesome skirt. And just really basic, where it's like, you know, you could make it shorter, you can make it longer, you can do all those different things, but have it really nicely fitted. And that's why I do like the older patterns, because they do have some of these techniques that you don't really get with the new patterns. They're just very, because you're using, like this one is wool, crepe, cotton types, or velvet. So I feel like some of the newer patterns that you get, they're just like polyester, use polyester, and everything's kind of a stretch, or everything's kind of like a elastic waistband or something. So I do like these, like a little bit more challenging. I know I got to get over my fear of zippers, but and this one and also the sizing too, right? So this is a Butterick 9834, and this is for a teenager, but I think I can probably modify it. Also, like, I don't really understand their sizes, so I felt like I could almost wear this, but maybe it would be a bit too short. But just a really classic blouse pattern with some great darts happening and some great buttons. I thought that was really cute. It'd be an awesome linen top, something that doesn't have too much stretch to it, more of a structure. I do have some really nice hemp cotton mixture as well that's really soft. So, and I found this one, this is a McCall's 3371, and I couldn't determine, I think the measurements of what my size would be is on the part where it's missing. But I just thought, oh, this would be an awesome jacket to make. It does include the skirt as well, but just getting that, let's see if there's a year. Print 1955. So just a really classic shape. It'd be, I don't know about these pockets, but that'd be interesting. Just to make a nice fitted jacket, and it does have like the short sleeve version, and yeah, detachable collar and cuffs. So just some classic looks. Now this one is Simplicity 4070, and it's not like I have anywhere to go, but I really liked the shape of it and the fact that I do want to get into a lot more corsetry stuff. I really like the bottom of it. That's why I picked it out. So it's just a really nice, it's shiny on the screen, really nice dress, and that it flares out at different areas. So on the pattern, on the line drawings, you can have like a longer torso, shorter torso. You could do it like underneath the bust. You can make it just a whole, just make it your own basically and figure that out. So I like that it's knee length, you know, flares out from the waist down, or if you want higher, you can do like a, what are they called? A baby look or a princess look. So I just really like that construction, and then the sizes were in this pattern are 6 to 14. So it's really hard to, when I was in the thrift store, they had like, you should spend like 20 minutes in the thrift stores, and usually I spend like over an hour. So I was just kind of like, oh, what's my bust measurement again? What size am I? So I think I'm going to be a, what am I? Waist. Yeah, I don't know. 12? I think I'm a 12 in this pattern. So I do have some silk, and if I really wanted to do that, but yeah. So the last pattern is McCall's 2401, and it's just a really basic pattern and shape. So just a really basic design of a dress. It has a back zipper closure, back slits, sleeve variations, neckline. So suggested fabrics: wool and wool blends, crepes, double knits, tweed. So the reason why I wanted to get this one, so I got that Ellie and Mac pattern for that dress that I really like, but that has to have stretch in the fabric, and it doesn't have, like, if it has no stretch like most of my fabrics that I own, then it's not going to work. So I was trying to find something that had nice shape to it and then has the zipper at the back. So it's just a really, like, this is, you know, your classic dress type of look. So you can make it shorter, you can make it longer. It's got the darts in them. Yeah, the side darts, and then the darts that go up and down. So it's got some shaping, and just a really, really classic look. So yeah, those are all the patterns that I got from the thrift store. So I probably won't be going there for a while now, and it doesn't seem like they're going to have like a high turnover of stuff, where that thrift store used to have a really high turnover of things just on a, like, a daily basis. Like if you went there in the morning time, it would be somewhat different than in the afternoon. So yeah, it's kind of sad that it's gonna affect the industry in that way as well, where it's just the program at the thrift store here supports a whole bunch of other programs in our community. So it's a really great thrift store. Like, I don't mind giving away really great items, because I know I would be getting great items coming back, because people just, they donate everything. Like, if you want everything and you're willing to wait, you'd find it there. But it's just, yeah, it's totally different now. So the other day I went to my sister's for some lunch, and I used to do this quite a lot. We were on a kind of a time crunch, because I was going to pick up the strawberries to go do some canning. But I got back into some beading, so I don't know if this is gonna work. So it's really, really small. I don't know what I'm gonna make. Maybe a, I guess the blue and the blue one's so good. Just a little, who knows. I think I'll probably make this into a bracelet of some sort. But I actually forgot a lot of these techniques, so I'm going to have to revisit. I learned off of YouTube. I learned from Auntie's Beads, I think her YouTube name is. So yeah, I just learned off of her, and the beads that I use are Japanese seed beads. So these are 11 O's. Because Japanese seed beads are definitely more uniform than other seed beads. You can get seed beads anywhere. You can get them from the dollar store, but they're going to be drastically different, and they won't stack nicely on top of each other or beside each other, so the quality is definitely different. So it's just something to think about if you're going to get into some seed beading or what have you. So, and it does take a lot of work. I have used a loom before, like a beading loom, but I actually didn't like it. I didn't end up using it, and the reason why I like beading is just the mere act of one bead or two beads at a time, and it's just very repetitive, where the loom is more production wise. So I did not enjoy like setting up the loom. You had to thread it all, and then it was just more about speed with the loom, where this was just more about just taking the time. I wasn't, you know, doing it for a mass production or a mass scale. So otherwise, you know, the bracelets are just crazy. It takes you forever just doing it hand, and if you do it by the loom, it obviously takes a lot less. But for me, it's more about the act of it, I think, is very important. So a lot of change is obviously happening in this world, not just with the pandemic, but with the protests, and it's just been amazing to watch, and definitely things are being brought to the forefront. And I think because racism and culture around racism has, you know, been taught throughout the generations, and then also fear driven as well. And just, I would encourage you, to go in your own town and learn about your own family history. I think that's really helped me, is to learn about my own family history, to also learn about the history of where you're residing. And in Canada, there's tons of racism and visible minority issues. Even when I went to university, there was this piece of property across the street, and I was like, oh my gosh, I used to do a lot of directed studies, so I was like, it would be awesome to get back to the land, get people out there just across the street to do some plant IDing, and like, it'd be amazing. It's just this huge piece of property that's overgrowing, and I ended up, you know, my teachers were like, oh, you know, if you want to do some directed study and get this, you know, group going and stuff like that, you're more than welcome to, you know, you just have to figure out all the logistics of it. We'll support you, you know? So I ended up emailing different people just to see, like, how do I get access to this land, because it's all fenced off. And, you know, I got an email back being like, well, this is where the Indian hospital used to be. Like, there was a First Nation hospital there, and it's actually in the courts. I don't know where it is right now, but when I was in university, they're saying it's in the court system because, you know, a lot of First Nation people are buried there. So I know, it's just like, what? Like, how did I not know this piece of property across the street from me was like a First Nations hospital? You know, like, it just blew my mind that I didn't, you know, it wasn't talked about, it wasn't. And then later on, I did meet a professor who actually went there as a child and was sent there. And yeah, it was very interesting, because you stay in your own bubble, and you know, if you don't hear the stories of what's happened on the land, what's happening to people, you can get very tunnel vision. So for me, just learning about even my, I'm half Japanese, my dad on my dad's side, and my mom's Dutch. But even just like when I started researching into my own history about, you know, the Japanese internment camps, then I started figuring out there was Italian internment camps, and just like understanding where you come from and how there's different stages, and how it's just really interesting when you start to get outside your own bubble and be taught somebody else's culture. You haven't been exposed to it, or I haven't been exposed to it, or I haven't taken the time to understand what has happened here, and just making, you know, rash judgments. So yeah, I hope you are all being compassionate, and to yourself, to others, that change really does start with a voice. It does start with yourself, and it's been amazing to watch that huge impact happening, and saying like it's no longer okay, and a huge change needs to come, because what we've been doing hasn't worked out. It's only been working out for a few minorities, and that's it. So I think the belief system does run strong, and I love doing Byron Katie the work. It's called thework.com, and she's got free worksheets. And if you have any belief systems, which we all do every single day, belief systems, and just breaking down your own belief systems about how I, you know, think I should believe, or people should be this way, or belief systems even about how the world works, or anything like that. And it just really breaks it down and makes you question your own belief system, which is probably one of the hardest journeys to go through, because when you're in the bubble, that's what you believe, and that's what your world, and that's how you construct your world. And then now it's all being shaken up, and it's an uncomfortable feeling. So I hope you are all doing what you're supposed to be doing, and, you know, being kind to yourself, and hope you're having a great day. I'll talk to you later. Bye.